Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. First call, Pat Freiermuth contacts Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson can still help Steelers from New York. In Wednesday's first call, Aaron Rodgers is making contact with at least one Pittsburgh Steelers target on offense. We investigate how Russell Wilson still may be able to help his now former team. There is an update on the recovery of ex-Steeler James Daniels. We tell you if Alex Ovechkin is any closer to Wayne Gretzky's NHL goal-scoring record. And Michael Bunting got on the score sheet for the Nashville Predators. News from Muth: at least one member of the Steelers has already made contact with Aaron Rodgers. Tight end Pat Freiermuth claims he and the team's potential new starting quarterback have swapped messages on social media. "Yeah, I've been in contact," Freiermuth told 93.7 The Fan on Tuesday, at the 6:18 mark. "It's not his phone number. I've just been DMing on my Instagram. I haven't gotten past the DM phase." I'm not sure if Freiermuth has gotten to the recruitment stage with Rodgers yet. But at least he seems more interested in speaking with Rodgers than Cam Hayward expressed a week ago. Last year, Tyler Conklin was the top receiving tight end for New York with Rodgers at the helm. He totaled 51 catches for 449 yards and 4 touchdowns. Freiermuth had 65 catches for 653 yards and 7 scores with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields as his QBs in 2024. Get on the Russ bus. Even though Russell Wilson has left for the New York Giants in free agency, Steelers fans should still root for him to play well. According to Adam Schefter of ESPN.com, Wilson's new contract means that the quarterback could earn up to $21 million in bonuses. Via research from OverTheCap.com's Nick Corte, that would result in the Steelers perhaps getting a third-round compensatory pick. At a minimum, he says Wilson would yield a fifth-rounder. According to Corte, the Steelers are currently due the maximum 4 2026 compensatory picks for departed free agents, with Daniel Moore yielding a fourth-rounder, Fields bringing back a fourth, and James Daniels netting a sixth. Daniels and the Dolphins. As for what Daniels will do with the Miami Dolphins, that's still a bit up in the air. According to Barry Jackson of the Miami Herald, Daniels says he's not going to find out until OTAs if he is going to play right guard or left guard in Miami after playing on the right side in Pittsburgh for 3 years. During the video conference call with Miami reporters, Daniels also said that his season-ending Achilles injury in Week 5 last year shouldn't limit his availability in 2026. "It's going pretty well," Daniels said. "I wasn't lucky to have the Achilles injury, but I was lucky when it happened. I had surgery the first week of October. I'm on schedule, I'm on track, so I was really fortunate about the timing in the year where we won't have to worry about anything this upcoming season." Rookie Mason McCormick replaced Daniels as the full-time starter on the right side. Even with no other suitors, Steelers could still lose out on Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers appears to be the Steelers' last best hope at quarterback, at least in their eyes. After the Vikings publicly declared support for J.J. McCarthy and the Giants signed Russell Wilson, the options on the table for both parties are few. The Steelers brought back Mason Rudolph, but they are not looking for him to start. Rodgers is running out of teams to play for, but there's a caveat to that, too. The thing is, Aaron Rodgers doesn't have to play for the Steelers because he doesn't have to play at all. And one wonders if that is increasingly becoming a possibility as his options dwindle. As we sit here today, Rodgers seems to have 2 choices: sign with the Steelers or retire. And I can't help but notice that the possibility of retirement seems to be mentioned more prominently in social media posts from national media members discussing his options. Some Steelers fans, of course, would welcome Rodgers retiring over signing with their team. Nobody can deny that he is a polarizing personality, and he is not in the prime of his career. After all, he hasn't led a team to a winning record in a few years now. And the prospect of retirement has hovered over him for years. Remember when he was going to host Jeopardy? Since hearing that Rodgers could decide between the Steelers and Giants in a matter of days, the Giants decided to stop waiting and signed Russell Wilson. They already added Jameis Winston and hold the third overall pick, so are likely out of the Aaron Rodgers multiverse. So unless the Vikings jump back in, Rodgers' only current option seems to be the Steelers. Perhaps that's why he is dragging his feet. Some have speculated that his delay is an attempt at a power play, whether for ego or bargaining. But what if Rodgers doesn't actually really want to play for the Steelers at the offered terms? It's likely that they are not offering him the sort of contract he has grown used to, especially based on the deal Wilson signed with the Giants. At this point in his career, he has nothing to prove. Aaron Rodgers is a no-doubt Hall of Famer and has a Super Bowl title in a win over the Steelers. He is already in his 40s and has earned close to $400 million during his career. He certainly doesn't need football, let alone Pittsburgh and Mike Tomlin. And quite obviously, he views himself as more than just an athlete. Florio, Steelers, Mike Tomlin's interest in Aaron Rodgers is a desperate attempt to delay the boom in Pittsburgh. Every Pittsburgh Steelers fan was disappointed by the way the 2024 season ended. Many still feel fed up, feeling that the franchise is too stuck in its own ways and unwilling to adapt. That mindset, they argue, is the reason Pittsburgh can't find a way to advance in the playoffs anymore. Mike Tomlin's done a tremendous job in Pittsburgh, but it's a hurdle he's been unable to jump past during the last decade. Given that, it was surprising when the Steelers made the splash trade for DK Metcalf. Their interest in Aaron Rodgers, seemingly led by Tomlin, has also turned some heads. Mike Florio thinks it's an example of Tomlin and the Steelers attempting to delay the inevitable. It just feels like we're getting close to something happening between Tomlin and the Steelers if they can't win a playoff game, Florio said on Pro Football Talk on Tuesday. Whether that's Art Rooney, too, reaches the end of his rope and breaks from the tradition of three coaches. Or whether it's Tomlin saying, "I need a fresh start, I need to go somewhere else." It just feels like we're getting closer to boom. And I feel like this move is a desperate attempt to delay the boom that is coming in Pittsburgh. There are so many ways to read Tomlin's situation in Pittsburgh and so many variables to consider. He deserves credit for hauling the Steelers to a winning record every year and the playoffs in most years. Some will say the Steelers' 6 straight one-and-dones in the postseason are a sign that Tomlin is overachieving to even get into the playoffs in the first place. However, the argument can also be made that the poor roster construction is Mike Tomlin's fault. Obviously, he has a big hand in the front office's decision-making. Since Ben Roethlisberger retired, Tomlin's team has been unable to find his successor. So, the interest in Rodgers makes sense, but it's a tricky situation. Rodgers had good and bad moments in 2024. Behind a promising offensive line and a solid receiving core, he could have success in Pittsburgh. However, he's also a 41-year-old with a recent Achilles injury. Mike Tomlin would be taking a risk by bringing in Rodgers. If Rodgers doesn't play well, it looks bad on Tomlin. Especially if players like Justin Fields or Russell Wilson, who the Steelers failed to bring back, play well in 2025. With all of that said, there are a lot of ifs to consider. Still, if things don't work out for Pittsburgh in 2025, could we finally see Tomlin on the hot seat? An ever-growing portion of the Steelers fan base would welcome that idea. Florio alludes to a boom in Pittsburgh, with Mike Tomlin and the Steelers parting ways. Tomlin is under contract through the 2027 season. It would be extremely surprising for the Steelers to move on from him before that contract expires. With that said, if Rodgers and the Steelers flame out in 2025, Tomlin will be under much more pressure in those final 2 years. And you, fan? What do you think about Aaron Rodgers' situation? Write to us in the comments.